Nerd Morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy Miller, and today on the Nerd Morning Show, I am sitting down with Cassie Shiels, who is an independent author. Comic book historically was a lot of individuals that were in kind of the publishing world and these other types of magazine print, because magazine back in the day was where it was at. Yeah. That was what you published in. And all these, magazine houses were like, you print comics, and that is technically kind of like a magazine, but they were like the indie creators of that. That was kind of the foreground of that industry, was based off of essentially indie creators.
Yeah.
And now today, I keep on hearing advice from different professionals, from people who are way up there, professionally speaking, in the industry. They say, if you have an idea, if you have a concept, you want to write a comic, you want to create this, do it. Just do it. Build your independent story. Don't necessarily wait to be picked up by Marvel or picked up by DC, because there's only so many slots there. There's a lot of people that want to do those. And the best thing that you can do to appeal or present yourself is say, hey, look, here are these comics that I've published. And I did myself, or I did with my team of people, or I've done whatever. And here's what I have. Here's the people who love what I do, and they're going to check out my stuff if I work with you. And so you've now got an expanded audience by bringing me along. And that's one of the strongest things that I have read and heard from the people inside of that industry. So if you want to write comics, you want to write books, you want to do those things, if you were painting, you're waiting for all of this opportunity, or you're waiting to do any type of creative work, you're like, there are a lot of pro cool cosplayers out there.
Oh yeah.
I am a major fan of that industry and the different creatives that are involved in that. Don't wait for permission to be a creative individual.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
That's, I think, one of the biggest, most important things about this. And it's okay if the first things you do suck.
The worst, what is the quote? It's a bad first draft is better than no first draft at all. You can always grow and tweak and change. We talked about how you learn as you do, and you learned with this cover lots of things about what you needed to tweak and change, and that made a difference for this cover, and I feel like when we did my covers, we learned about that too.
Yeah.
And it's you learn by doing, would you say, I am just curious, in the comic world, that indie as well as traditional publishing is looked on both as worthy and good?
Totally. I would say that if you, I see actually several individuals who they publish with DC, they publish with Marvel. They're generally speaking, you're a contractor with them. Just kind of in traditional publishing, you are not Tor Publishing or Penguin Random House. You're not these groups. You're your own little company of you, who is contracting them for a job, for a project. And in the comic world, I see several people who have worked on an X-Men, and they've done some really cool stuff here, and then they also did their own independent project and published their own comic here of their own characters and their stuff like that. And I think I see people who will do indie, they'll jump over here and do a real project with these bigger companies, and then they jump back over here and they keep on doing this or do other types of projects. And I think that that's really, really acceptable.
So yay for hybrids, huh?
Yes.
Yay for hybrids!
It is the industry of hybrid authorship.
What's so cool about this time is that you can do both.
Yes.
And I love that. So, if you want to do independent, if you want to do traditional, it doesn't matter. Whatever you feel is better for your story or your comic or whatever you're creating, you can kind of choose a little bit. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a contract, right? But you can still have that option.